Hey, what's up, my swaggers? Gamer Guy 7 Aces here, and wow, yesterday was quite the event, wasn't it? That whole boxing match with KSI, Logan, Deji, and Paul. I'm not going to recap on it because that's not what this video is about, but yeah, that day was crazy, and that was the same day, Sage Expo came out with Sonic games, which I think was a big misstep because it got completely overshadowed with the boxing match. Matter of fact, you're seeing Sage content right here. Sonic Chaos. Like, I had no idea they were remaking this game. It's a fan game, but it's awesome. And I heard that the guy who made Sonic Time Twisted is going to do Sonic Triple Trouble. That will be coming out in Sage next year using, an engine inspired by Sonic Mania and Christian Whitehead. And I'm just loving how the Sonic Sage games are going on right now. It's just, it's amazing, And yeah, I'm looking forward to future Sage games. But anyway, what I want to talk about in this video is it's not a response, but it's kind of me explaining things. Like, my previous Sonic theory was the Mighty and Ray theory, and I could tell a lot of people were conversating and debating. It was kind of controversial, but it's not because of the Mighty and Ray missing illusions thing. It was because of the whole Sonic Canon I explained with Husky Z. Now, I'm just going to explain things quite clearly here because, a lot of people argue about Sonic timeline and this, and I remember I saw a comment, I even quoted on my Twitter, of this one person saying, yo, with all due respect, stop screwing with the timeline just to fit your theories. Please stop screwing with it. And I'm like, excuse me, I'm not screwing with the timeline. Sega is. Sega is the one, Sonic Team is the one that continuously screws with the timeline, and I'm going to explain that in this video. At the end of the day, what is Sonic Canon? Sonic Canon is not to be taken seriously or as fact because Sonic Canon is not as solid as like Zelda Canon or Kingdom Hearts Canon. Like, Sonic Canon continuously change. And I know a lot of people making fun of Kingdom Hearts because, its story is a bit convoluted. Like, it just doesn't go Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, and 3 because you're missing a lot of the games in between. Like, there's Kingdom Hearts 1, Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, 1.5, 2, this, that, 3. I'm not a Kingdom Hearts expert, but yeah. So that's kind of like what the Sonic Canon has become now, but that's thanks to Sega. So the thing is, what you guys got to know is that Sonic timeline is fluid. It's very fluid and ever changing, and it only depends on whatever sells well. That's how Sega thinks. If a game doesn't sell well, they'll just write it out of the canon, or if it's terrible, they'll just ignore it. But if a game is successful, oh, you bet you they will make it canon for sure. Let's talk about Sonic CD and Sonic 4 first. As you guys know, if you follow Sonic history a lot, Sonic CD, or it was originally called Sonic the Hedgehog CD, was supposed to be Sonic 2. That was the original Sonic 2, because right after Sonic 1, Sonic 1 was made in Sega of Japan. The same team, Sega of Japan, was going to work on the next game, but they were going to work on that for a new console, the Sega CD, right? And meanwhile, Sega of America was going to make their own Sonic game, still untitled. Sega of Japan, their game was going to be Sonic 2, but they were very ambitious with it. They changed a lot of things with it, added the timeline as a gimmick because they were inspired by movies like Back to the Future. And it just took longer to make it on their hardware because they did it on Sega CD. Meanwhile, Sega of America was still working on the Sega Genesis. So their game came out first, 1992, right after Sonic 1 in 1991. So their game was called Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Now, obviously, when I say Sega of America and Japan, it's the same people, like Yuji Naka was still ahead of both teams. But yeah. So theirs came out as Sonic 2. Now, CD didn't come out until a year later, 1993. So they didn't call it, since it was supposed to be Sonic 2, but Sonic 2 already came out, they just called it Sonic CD because it came out on the Sega CD. Back then, they weren't concerned at all about canon and any of that. But there was a hidden file inside the game where it had Tails say, "See you next game." They were talking about Sonic 2. That was going to be the next game, right? But they made that was just a hidden file that only experienced hackers and people were able to, retrieve. Years later, thanks to YouTube and the internet, we know how to do that. And with the Christian Whitehead remake, that is what you see right at the end of the title card now. So originally Sonic CD was always supposed to come out before Sonic 2. It makes sense because you don't see Tails, and Tails always follows Sonic, right? Now enter 2010 when Sonic 4 came out. Let's go to 2012, Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Episode 2. Now that always promoted Sonic CD as being the prequel. Matter of fact, right after Sonic Generations came out in 2011, Sonic CD came out, the remaster for Christian Whitehead. That was the first time we heard about the Taxman. December came out with the complete remake of Sonic CD using his own engine. And that was promoted at the time as being the prequel to Sonic 4. It came right after Sonic 3 Knuckles and before Sonic 4 because they were promoting Sonic 4 Episode 2, which would come 5 months later. Because I saw some people in my comments saying that, what are you talking about? Sonic CD comes right after Sonic 3 Knuckles and comes before Sonic 4. And I'm like, no guys, come on. Because I've always had a problem with Sonic 4's timeline, because even with Sonic 4 Episode 1, they completely fucked up the whole Sonic 3 and Knuckles timeline. Like with Knuckles' story, they said Knuckles' story was happening at the same time as Sonic's story. But we all know from the original game, Knuckles' story happened afterwards, after the events of Sonic's story. After, he fought Eggman and everything, was hypersonic in space, returned the Master Emerald to Knuckles. And then Knuckles was chilling in Angel Island, and one of the rogue Egg Robos of Dr. Eggman, or Dr. Robotnik, attacked Knuckles, and Knuckles basically went through his own adventure, and in the end Sonic saved him with the biplane when Knuckles fought Mecha Sonic. That's what we all thought. But then here comes Sonic 4, completely changes the timeline. So at that time, Knuckles was going through his own adventure at the same time Sonic was, and setting traps for Sonic while he was going through his own thing. That was the canon when Sonic 4 was around. And Sonic CD was going to be the prequel to Sonic 4. So they completely rewrote things to fit their game. But now that Sonic 4 didn't do well, didn't sell well, Episode 3 got canceled. So in my opinion, Sonic 4 is not canon anymore because it was incomplete. Now you guys can continue thinking it's canon. You know what? You're totally fine to think that. But don't go getting mad at other people stating it as fact that Sonic 4 is canon, because there really is no fact when it comes to Sonic lore, Sonic canon. Sega makes whatever they want canon, and as a theorist, as a Sonic theorist, we gotta connect the dots. It's our job to connect the dots and revise the timeline to fit their new timeline. Now, Sega has completely ignored Sonic 4. It's like it never even happened. So Sonic CD goes back to being the game between Sonic 1 and Sonic 2. It just makes sense. Now, I know some people make the argument saying, but Metal Sonic, and I used to think this too, it just made sense. Silver Sonic always felt like a prototype. And then Mecha Sonic was after that, and then the final version was Metal Sonic. But Sega has never stated nor confirmed this. It's just our own headcanon, because it makes sense, right? We've never seen Mecha Sonic ever since 3 Knuckles, and we've never seen Silver Sonic. Silver Sonic himself looks like a prototype, right? But that's just our headcanon. Mecha Sonic is very much his own beast, his own creation. Especially like Super Mario Bros. Z. I know that's a fan-made show, but Mecha Sonic is his own beast, and even the comics. So we can't go saying Mecha Sonic is an earlier version of Metal Sonic. Like, no, not at all. But anyway, so that's what I wanted to say about the whole Sonic CD thing. To me, Sonic CD comes before Sonic 2. You guys can continue believing it comes after 3 Knuckles and before 4. It doesn't hurt anybody. It's not, but you can't state it as fact. Now, Sega Sonic. Now, the arcade games, Sega Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic the Fighters, I never saw them as canon, right? I just saw them like Mighty the Armadillo. I always saw him as just a prototype, or just, kind of like Oswald the Rabbit, right? Well, once Sonic Mania Plus came out, Sega rewrote everything. So yeah, so even in the Mania Plus manual, they said that Sonic met Mighty and Ray back in their adventures back in Sega Sonic. Now, you wonder, where did Sega Sonic take place? Because nothing can fit between Sonic 2 and 3 Knuckles. 3 Knuckles, since both games were made by Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 Knuckles were all made from Sega of America, so 3 Knuckles is a direct sequel to Sonic 2. There's just nothing that fits, between them. Right after Sonic defeats the Death Egg in Sonic 2, it crashes on Angel Island, and then Robotnik meets Knuckles, and, so yeah, then another adventure comes right after that. Sega Sonic definitely happens before Sonic 2, right? And I wouldn't say it happens before Sonic 1 because to me, Sonic 1 will always be the one that started it all. There's no game that came before Sonic 1 in the timeline unless the Sega states, yo, this game is a prequel. And Eggman already knew Sonic, that's why he kidnapped him. So Mania Plus made Sega Sonic canon, and I, as a theorist, I connected the dots and was like, okay, Sonic Fighter should be canon too because the hooligans, the hooligans are also important because they're wanted. And I saw this more as just an Easter egg because Generations, when Sonic Generations came, those pictures were just Easter eggs. Sonic Generations was a conglomeration of Sonic's history. So I wasn't going to be like, oh, this is canon now. I just saw it as an Easter egg. But Mania Plus now states it as actual canon. Like I said, the games continuously change. Because I remember when one person was trying to correct me, I'm like, and he talked about a theory I made last year. I forgot what he said. But I told him that theory came out before Sonic Mania came out. So the timeline always changes. Plus, I'm talking about Timeline 2 Sonic, which is classic Sonic. I know Sega's trying to make it look like, oh, from another dimension. Like I said, they're always changing things. As a theorist, I got to make things more consistent. I'm like, no, this is the same classic Sonic from Generations. After all, Modern Sonic and Forces tells classic Sonic, hey, it's been generations since I last saw you. I mean, come on. I know some of you might think that's just a pun, but I have to look deeper than that, So yeah. And Knuckles Chaotix. I've known about that game for the longest time, but I never saw that as canon. But now it's considered canon. I always knew that if Knuckles Chaotix would be canon, it would always come after Sonic 3 Knuckles. I mean, just makes sense, the founding of the Chaotix Knuckles and all that. So that is just proof of the timeline always changes in a couple years. Maybe next year, if we have a Sonic movie video game, I don't know. Let's say Sega decides to make that part of the canon, and they're like, yes, this happens right after this or before that. Then, it's like, okay, so the timeline has changed again. Now we have to adjust it. I mean, look at Sonic 06. I mean, I thought that game was never supposed to happen, right? Yet in Sonic Generations, Sonic is visiting Crisis City again. Like, there's even a quote from Blaze when you play one of her missions. She says, I never thought I would be here again, or something like that. And Blue Blur actually talked about that in one of his videos about Blaze. And it's like, wait, Blaze, how do you remember this? I thought you're from a different dimension, the soul dimension. So yeah, the timeline is always going to change, and that's what's fun for me. That's what's interesting and exciting as a theorist, to always connect the dots. And that's why I said for Timeline 2 Classic Sonic, it's Sonic 1, Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic CD, Sonic 2, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Knuckles Chaotix, and then you can put Sonic the Fighters if you want, Sonic Generations, and then, Sonic Forces, Sonic Mania. That's just me connecting the dots. Now, I know there's a lot of history that happens between Knuckles Chaotix and Sonic Generations. I was just talking about Timeline 2 Sonic. So what do you guys think about all this? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below, because, we all got to realize this, that we shouldn't take the canon so seriously. It's always going to change. And I love that. Back then, things were simple. It was just Sonic 1, 2, 3, but there's a lot that happens between that. I mean, look at Dragon Ball Super is a great example, and Sonic loves copying from Dragon Ball. I mean, Dragon Ball Super is supposed to happen between the ending of the Buu Saga in Dragon Ball Z and the ending of Dragon Ball Z, so it's right in there. But before Dragon Ball Super came, that was never canon. It was always the Buu Saga, then fast forward to 10 years. But now Super happens. Now we know that there's a Lord Beerus, there's Whis, there's Gods of Destructions, Angels, Xeno, Grand Priest. That's called lore building. These aren't factual events that happen. This is fiction. I mean, Iizuka is terrible when it comes to consistency, like the whole moon theory, which Scourge did an awesome theory about that. Like when Iizuka was saying, oh, it's because the moon is facing on one side, and it's like, what are you talking about? The moon doesn't just rotate like that. Like, you can tell Iizuka doesn't know astronomy. And then things like, oh, Sonic is in a different world. There are many different worlds. There's the animal world, or the classic world, and there's the human world. It's just, I think he makes these things up at the spot when he's questioned in interviews, just to make sense out of things. I'm sure he doesn't think that we take these super seriously and will attack each other and stuff, So, yeah, so just have fun with it, and yeah. The only thing that should be factual is that Sonic 1 is the one. It's the one that starts everything. And Sonic 3 Knuckles comes right after Sonic 2. So if you get those two things right, then you'll be fine. But anyway, let me know what you guys think down below, and yeah, I'm interested to hear what you guys think of the Canon and whether you think Sonic 4 counts or not. So yeah, be sure to smash that like button, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Hit the bell button. Also, check my playlist if you want to keep up to date with any of my videos. And yeah, and before somebody takes this video super seriously, reacts to it, and causes problems and drama because of it, but whatever. Anyway, guys, until next time, swag out.